find out if that commodities theme is playing out on the nabtrade platform, Gemma Dale joins us for her weekly update. Gemma, welcome.
Thank you.
Miners featuring heavily in what's the action that's happening?
It's pretty much all miners.
Right, okay.
It feels like it's been all miners all year. Like the concentration of enthusiasm in the market is really apparent on our platform. Really apparent. There's just been a dramatic shift away from anything that isn't, frankly, in the commodities or energy space. Like, it's just quite extraordinary how quickly things narrowed fairly early in the year, and it has stayed really tight. That's where the money is, and it's shifting pretty frequently. People are positioning around commodities and energy. That's all they're interested in.
So coal,
Yep.
lithium,
Yep.
iron ore, because we have seen the price of iron ore rebounding as well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
where it's
Nice
at.
talking with you this week.
I wish I could say something more interesting. It feels like in fact, it's sort of concentrating further, particularly as volumes start to fall into the end of the year. At the moment, our volumes are really, really steady, which surprises me. I thought it would have quietened down a little bit. It was actually pretty strong. But I think that is, again, materials and energy giving people something to work with, and they are working with it fairly enthusiastically. It's still Fortescue way out in front, and it's quite interesting. Yes, the iron ore price has come back, but they were trading it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
It's really the trade there.
So
that's
is there
exciting people.
profit taking happening?
Very clearly, that is the one that is sort of playing out really aggressively at the moment. So BHP, $46 plus. People are loving the opportunity to trim that, and they're trimming it really hard. Above a 90% sell yesterday by value. Always very important to differentiate between the number of trades and the value of those trades. Very heavily skewed on the value side toward the sell. Rio also $112. People are loving getting out of that at that price. So there's a lot of selling in Rio. Fortescue, interestingly enough, it was $19.91 with a strong sell yesterday. Above 20 today, I imagine we'll see more trimming, right?
Okay, so that's materials. What's happening in the banks?
Banks are interesting. So CBA is not in the numbers at all at the moment, which I find quite interesting. But it tends to be a stock, because people have held it for a long time, have done extremely well out of it. They might trim right at the top of the range, but they're not going to sell wholesale. They'll just hang on to it for a long time. Whereas the other banks, there's been more kind of jostling for position over time, rather than that sort of nice upward trajectory that you see with CBA that people have really enjoyed. And so we've seen a bit of moving around. CBA, it's holding. NAB, that sort of $31.50 mark, people are pretty keen to trim at that price. They've seen it up there before. They know it hasn't held above that price for very long, if at all, and so they're pretty keen to trim. So we've seen trimming in NAB. Westpac, we've seen some trimming. I find Westpac very interesting because it was absolutely the preferred bank, and we were seeing massive, massive values going into it early last year, so close to 2 years ago now. That thesis hasn't played out terribly strongly. You're only talking about a 10% return, which is marginally better than the market this year, but not over the 2-year period. So they haven't done super well out of backing Westpac through that period, but we are seeing trimming in it. And ANZ seems to be the one that they're kind of rotating into. And there's always this reversion to the mean thing.
Yeah.
If it's been awful,
Yeah.
there's only sort of 4 you worry about. If it's been awful, maybe it'll come back and it'll start to play strongly. But that Westpac thesis didn't play out at all, really.
What about Macquarie?
Macquarie's a hard sell above 180,
Yep.
very hard, which I find surprising. It's made it above that price many, many times, and people have seen it go further. But at the moment, it's a strong sell. That's profit taking though, right? And people who buy Macquarie love Macquarie. They know that that company tends to be a consistent performer for them. So they like the idea of buying more later. If it comes back to 160, they'll buy it.
Okay, so we still got active trading happening in the lithium miners. What about some of the other commodity names? I mean, we saw IGO today is out, like the Inside Tech Pivots of the world, those that are leveraged to, you know, the broader economic story.
Yeah, so Insitech Pivot's been a massive, massive buy. Very, very high value trades, and that's quite interesting. So a small group of people go, do you know what, I need to get on that.
So this is not just one, it's a handful.
Handful, got to get on this, and I'm going to buy a lot of it. So I feel like there's an opportunity there. And the coal miners, they're doing the opposite. They're like, I've got to trim this, right? It's been an extraordinary year. Yeah, it's been fun. I don't know if I need to be holding this forever. A lot of them feel quite strongly that they will rotate out of that at some point, and they're trying to work out what that point is. And you can see them going, I'll take a little bit off the table now, right? Now's the time to just, spend it at Christmas.
I would. Tempting. Okay, now international. Anything interesting?
So Tesla's always at the top, but really, really small trades now, right? Really small. So there's a lot of them, but they're very, very tiny. A couple of really interesting ones coming through, very, very large trade sizes. One is figs.
What's that?
Which is, I had the same response. It is scrubs. Like the medical staff wear them, and it was considered to be a terribly innovative listing last year in that
COVID,
very, very appealing scrubs. But also they make scrubs people want to wear. They're colourful and they fit nicely, as opposed to scrubs that are boring and ugly. And so it was this very exciting listing, not been super successful. It's down over 70% since it listed, and there's a class action against them. They were in legal action against a competitor. Like, it's been pretty heavy going for anyone who bought it, and yet we saw massive buy. Massive. Not a large number of people, but massive buy. Very interesting.
I've just Googled it. Yeah, amethyst and bright fuchsia plus Caribbean blue is all the rage right now.
Yeah, so
I had no
working
idea.
in hospitals and in the medical system can be quite serious.
Yep.
And I imagine having something beautiful or cheerful to wear might be quite delightful, particularly if you're in pediatrics or something. But yes, it was a big, exciting story for a while there. Stock price absolutely plummeted. Somebody feels there's some opportunity and they're going to buy it. One might imagine that they work in the medical field or have some exposure to it. It hasn't been a big story.
If you're the NAB trader out there, we'd love to know your story.
Tell us why. We want to hear about this one. Amazing. You obviously didn't want to join the class action.
Yeah, no. Okay. Always fun, Gemma. Always interesting and informative. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Pleasure. Thank you.